Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Step to Free webinar. So happy to have you here tonight. I have a nice little presentation that I'll start in a couple minutes. But first, me and Asiana were talking before y'all hopped on that we just want to be able to see all your faces, and Asiana's gonna offer us a really nice opportunity to come into our bodies and slow down after what was probably a busy day for most of us, I suspect. And Asiana is one of my mentors and good friends. And I'm so honored that she volunteered her time to help and teach us something tonight and share the practice. So lots of love to everyone. I'm so glad you're here. And I'm going to turn it over to Asiana to bring us home.
Oh, thanks, Eric. Yeah, it's really sweet to be here with you all. Yeah, like I said, this time of the year when we're working in eclipse season can often feel a little polarizing. So I just really appreciate these more embodiment somatic meditation practices that can really just support us in like feeling our body, like being right here, right now. So I'm just going to kind of guide us through a little bit of a movement stillness practice. Influenced through Tantra yoga and a practice called Brima, which is just this impeccable practice, simply the principles of presence. What is it to be here right now? So if you're able, I did kind of peek someone who is driving, so don't close your eyes if you're driving. But if you're in a space where you can close your eyes, just find a comfy seat here for a few moments as we just settle into our bodies, our breath together. Nice full breath in. You might give it an open mouth exhale with a sigh. It's really the invitation to allow yourselves to land right here, right now. Just take that a few more rounds, a nice deep breath in. Exhale with a sigh. Maybe a little sound, maybe audible, whisper, sigh. Let's do it actually 2 more. It just feels really good. Here, just simply notice your breath breathing, of being breathed. And the invitation is to really allow the commentary of your mind to start to settle down, and you're landing in this place of noticing the sensations that reveal themselves as you notice your breath breathing your body breathing on earth. Just landing here, and about 5 more, just full slow breaths. Meet yourself exactly where you are. And then we're just going to begin to invite some pretty slow pelvic bowl stirs here. So as you inhale, just feel your belly expand and begin to roll through the front of your pelvic bowl. And then as you exhale, there'll be a natural little swooping of the tailbone. The belly button draws back as you round through the back of your pelvic bowl. And let's just continue this movement for a few rounds. And I am going to invite you to drop a little bit of a tone inside the fabric of your body. And this can be super subtle. super light, kind of rolling the sound around with this stir inside. And it's a low ah sound. So you can join me as you're ready. Just feel the vibration inside. Ah. Ah. And slow the stir down. Ah. And then just switch directions with the stir. Continue to roll the sound around. Ah. Ah. One more, please. Ah. And then just settle in a place of stillness, eyes closed, and notice sensation for 3 breaths. And then easy here. You can blink your eyes open while staying connected to the internal atmosphere of you. You can draw your knees together, and it's okay to just peek up here for some visual cues. We'll have our fingertips slightly behind us on the earth, and we're just going to let the knees do a little kind of windshield wiper maneuver side to side. And each time the knees sweep through center, see if you can do a little scoop of the tailbone and a little rounding through the inner pelvis, just to support a little undulation there. They'll peek over the opposite shoulder as the knees glide to one side, and just really noticing a little hydration through the hips there, the shoulders, and a very subtle kind of stirring and twisting through the spine and the belly. Let your breath be full and just really so tuned through sensation, the sheath of embodiment. And let's take that one more time on each side. And then we'll lift our knees center here and bring the soles of your feet together. And if you're in a chair, it's okay to just have your knees a little wide. And this is kind of like we're just working with a little bit of momentum. So the hands are spread wide, and we're just going to tap the inner heels with our palms and then cross the arms as they slap the chest. And then we find a natural rhythm with this, and the body just rocks forward and back. Body has weight. Body breathes. Let's continue this for a few more. Twice more. And the next time the hands slap the heels, stay there and let the hands brush up the inner shins, the knees, the thighs, the belly, And then let the hands brush over to the kidneys, the low back here. I'm going to spin around. And then the hands are just going to tap the low back in the kidney area. And you're welcome to kind of rock a little bit forward, back, side to side. And up and down the low back kidneys. And then 3 nice love pats there. And then slowly let the hands brush over the thighs, the knees as you receive your own touch, the shins, the toes, up the inner shins, the inner thighs, the belly, the heart. Hands brush over the face, the crown of your head, the back of your head, your throat, heart, belly, back over the kidneys, low back, outer hips, thighs. And we're going to continue this brush for a few rounds, just picking up the pace each time. Just picking up the pace. Full body, single moment, single activity. No force. Pick up the pace. Just a little bit faster. And then slow it down these next 2 rounds. And now the next time the hands brush up the inner thighs, the knees, they'll come to the belly and the backs of your hands come together here. And then just slowly lift the arms here, elbows bend. And then we're just going to open the palms like a little fling. And then just let the hands float, backs of the hands to the knees. Just pause here for 3 rounds of breath and just kind of register the reverberation of that practice through your whole body. And then if you haven't already, you can just slide the hands around toward the ankles and slide the feet back to a cross-legged position or draw the knees back together. Hands in a circle around the knees. And then just settling here and feel the weight of your body totally supported by planet Earth body. Body breathes. And then when you're ready, just kind of blinking the eyes open and just letting the space around you come to you and perhaps coming back to the screen with your awareness, but maintaining this internal connection along the way. Yeah, thank you.
That went quick because it was so wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How great to get in our bodies after, I imagine, a full day for everyone. I'd love to see people, if you could just pop in the comments how you're feeling right now with a word or two. That'd be great. I'll start it off with relieved. Yeah, so go ahead and put in the chat a word or two how you're feeling right now. And it doesn't have to be good or bad, or just how you're feeling tonight in this moment. Relaxed, Melissa, wonderful. Curious, ooh, I like that. Very cool. Yeah. Who else? Is there any more little shares? Ooh, centered. Very nice. Oh, cool. I think Chelsea's here from Florida, I think. She's representing. Very cool. Awesome, you guys. Well, welcome to the webinar tonight. I'm so glad you're here. And I am going to share my screen. And let me just get to that right place here. Asiana, anything that you want to share about that little practice that we had, or and I am gonna I will share this recording after with everyone, but maybe could you tell us a little bit about Brima? I
Yeah,
love, yeah.
yeah, it was wonderful. So literally there's 9 principles that Brima works with, and there are these principles of presence, and these are just different postures, different little vignettes, if you will, where we actually get to put the principles into direct practice. And just a few of the principles, for instance, are body comfortable, no hurry, no pause, single moment, single activity, no judgment, no force, mutual support. Yeah, those are just a few to name the simple profundancy of the practice. And I love just the tapping and the haptic touch when we're able to receive our own touch. We're kind of receiving the nourishment from the inside out, the outside in, and it feels just like a sweet embrace. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Thanks, Asiana.
You're welcome.
I love the single pointedness of the practice, definitely. Yeah. Just do what you're doing.
Be how
All
you're.
right. So can everyone see my screen okay? Thumbs up? Awesome, cool. Well, this is the wrong thing. That's not good. I don't want to share that one. I gotta go to this one, to the webinar for tonight. I'm leading a month long class, and that's week 4. Here we go. This is what we want to do. I'm so relaxed from Asiana's practice. I don't know what's going on here. All right, I'm almost there. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Here we go. All right, here it is. Moving from stuck to free, tonight's webinar. So 3 ways to peace with myself and Asiana Hopper. I'm so excited to have Asiana here to share her wisdom tonight, because my understanding of Asiana is she has more of a yogic path, and my path is more Buddhist based. So she's going to chime in on anything she can add to my more Buddhist views tonight to share with you all. I figured we'd start off with a quote tonight. The chaos doesn't end, you just kind of become the calm. I love that one. So I'm a therapist when I'm not teaching and sharing events and stuff like the other stuff I do. But most of my clients, when they first come in, they want to talk about the chaos in their life, the relationship that's breaking up, or the problems at work, or social stuff, or how they're upset about politics or whatever. And that's wonderful in the beginning. But eventually, we have to realize that the chaos, the ups and downs of life, the president who's in office, the boss at work, that's never going to go away. It's just part of being here on planet Earth. So I love this quote: "The chaos doesn't end; you just kind of become the calm." And that's one of the big things I'd love to land for you guys tonight is that when you can have a more solid mindfulness practice, there's this ability to just take the seat of the witness, sit back from your own thoughts and feelings, and then you just kind of drop back into the observing mind. And then it can be very calm no matter what's going on out in the field. So I just thought that was a great quote. I'll say it once more: the chaos does not end, but you kind of just become the calm. So there we go. Awesome. So, Asiana, would you be able to just share a little bit about your practice and path, or anything that might be useful for people to get to know who's, guiding them tonight?
Sure, sure. Can you still hear me okay?
Hmm.
Great. Yeah, I'll just share briefly, it's such a perpetual unfolding, one of my teachers, I love how she puts it, like, we are a planetary process. We are a living system. And so really my practice is to continuously remind myself to just put myself right in the middle of the mystery. Like we don't know. We really don't know. And so that quote that you shared feels pretty perfect, Erik, in the sense of like how do we just like be in this magical, chaotic, phenomenal adventure of embodiment on planet Earth. And I just find these practices so helpful, especially the toning, the primordial seed sounds through the fabric of embodiment, which is really something that's been so alive for me of late. And it just helps me feel like my capacity can expand, so I can just kind of be a bit more calm, and as some of our fellow practitioners put it, like tend to the posture of my mind and how I'm orienting to my experiences. Yeah. So that's all I'll say right now. It just feels really potent and and not simple.
Thank you, Asiana. Yeah, and if you like that little practice tonight, Asiana teaches at a Wake Festival in September, and she's teaching a pop-up too, which is our fun event, which is May 20th coming up. It's an evening event, conscious event at a cool little yoga studio in Denver called Ahimsa Yoga, and you could spend an hour and a half practicing with Asiana and have some nice connection time too with our community. So yeah, awesome. Cool. And just so you know who's helping you out on this call and sharing stuff, I've been at this about 30 years. My name's Erik. Here's a picture of me from the festival last year. I was so happy because one of our vendors made this cool wooden laser cut wooden chips that said awake on it, which I thought was so cool. So I was so happy to be at the festival and hanging out with everyone. Last year we had a couple hundred wellness folks there, and this year we're shooting for 300, and hopefully you'll come join us in September. And just a quick tidbit about my journey, just so that you know, if you haven't gone through this process yet, or if you're in the middle of it, it is possible. But I grew up back east. I was very bought into the consumer culture back east too. There's a lot of pressure to perform, and it's very busy back east. If anyone's from the New England area, you might know that. And I definitely bought into the next thing, like being a good student and then getting the right job and then finding the right person. And it's like this hustle, right? To find your happiness and peace. And I finally hit the wall a few years later from so much stress from that way of living. And for the first time in my life, I wouldn't consider myself religious at all. I prayed. I said, why not try? And I met a Buddhist teacher, and then I started to practice. And ever since, I've been hooked. They say once you start, oh, what is it? If you haven't started yet, don't start. But if you start on the path, you got to keep going. It's like opening Pandora's box. So ever since, I've been dealing and working through all the karma and all the stuff that built up in there. And each day, I think I find a little more peace, and I'm so happy to share it with you guys. And then personally, I'm a husband, a dad with a couple beautiful kids, and I love to be a spiritual friend, which just means sharing stuff that I've learned from my teachers with you guys, and then we go back and forth and can talk about our practice together. Yeah. So just the quick little blurb about me, and there's more than necessary here, but I do want to mention I did my yoga teacher training at Samadhi, which Asiana, you teach there or taught there, right? Yeah,
I
I
teach
love that
there now.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I love Samadhi. That's just a beautiful part of my life. And actually, I guess a quick story about that would be for everyone out there that has a practice and loves to do yoga. I remember when I had my first kid, my son Connor. It was funny. I called all my family, of course, from the hospital. And the first place I wanted to go was to Samadhi to tell everyone that I had my first child. And I remember that being a moment of realizing like yoga and these spiritual practices aren't like a business. It's not it's so much deeper than that. It's a spiritual practice. It's been around for so long. In our community, the kula they call it in yoga, and in Buddhism they call it the sangha is so important. So that was just a little takeaway. And I did go to Naropa University, which I share because I was just such a great experience to go to one of the few Buddhist universities and become a therapist, and then integrate all the Buddhist teachings with everything I learned. And I've done a lot of retreat, which I think is important, just because if you're going to trust someone to share meditation with you and teachings, you should know they practice themselves. I think that's really important. So I'm often going into retreat. I wish I could do more.
Mm.
Yeah. So I just want to let you know that at the end, I'm going to share all about the May 7th deep dive. It's a day-long retreat here in beautiful Evergreen. We have a little cabin by a river, and I'm going to be leading that with Lauren, who's part of Awake for the yoga part. And then on May 20th, we have a pop up with Asiana. But at the end, we'll tell you all about that. And if you become part of these events and start to merge with the community more, you're definitely going to find more ease, peace, and a ton of connection in the community. So just wanted to mention, I'll let you know more about that later. All right, let's get into the juice of what we want to share tonight. So tonight, you'll learn three things. Hopefully, I'll do my best to share what I've learned from my teachers. The first one is tonight we're going to hopefully learn to stop taking our thoughts and feelings so seriously, so you can set yourself free. The second one is a little tough medicine from Buddhism, but I think it's important, is to accept the often dissatisfactory nature of life and learn how to live in peace. And we'll get into that one a little later. And then finally, we'll learn to break free from unconscious patterns and live from presence. So yeah, those are the three chunks tonight that I can't wait to share with you guys. Yeah. And I'm curious if you want to put in the chat if there's anything else you'd like to discuss tonight. I'd be happy to share anything else that you're curious about or any specific questions about your practice at any point. Put it in the chat, and we'll Sienna and I would love to share. All right, so let's kick it off with the first one. Learn to stop taking your thoughts and feelings so seriously and set yourself free. So, by a show of hands or a comment in the chat, does anyone ever take their thoughts seriously? Anyone out there? Yep. I see some hands for sure, right? So this is the thing about thoughts that are an issue. We have thousands of thoughts every day. And what happened is we were born into a culture that's not enlightened. I'm sure, do you agree, everyone? Yeah, you maybe noticed that we're not fully enlightened culture. We might have some stuff going on. So what happened is when you were little, you were born all innocent and ready to go and whole and complete. And then you started to take on this programming of our culture. And a lot of that programming leads to feelings about ourselves or thoughts about ourselves of not good enough, needing to always be improving, needing, feelings of self-doubt or negative things that we say about ourselves. You may have noticed sometimes you can kind of be your own worst enemy in your head. Like my clients every day share with me stuff that they say to themselves. Like, oh, they'll say something at work and then they'll say, oh, that was stupid. I shouldn't have said that. And we'll talk about that and be like, really? Is that how you want to talk to yourself? Like, and we're always working on learning to love yourself more and be more kind with that internal talk. So we've been pre-programmed with all these thoughts, and a lot of them are negative, and a lot of them we don't even know where they come from. They just kind of pop up right in your mind all the time. And so if we're going to go with that truth that I believe that a lot of our thoughts are constructive, then maybe it's time to stop taking them so seriously. So the best way that I know to share how to do that is to give you a few analogies. I love analogies. I think it's a great way to understand the mind. And the first one is the riverbank analogy. Um, so imagine yourself, just imagine a river, and it's a really big river, like a class 5 maybe. You've seen rapids here in Colorado, I bet. Right now, when the snow starts to melt, the rapids get really big, right? So that's kind of like our minds, right? Sometimes, if we're honest. So in that river are all our thoughts and feelings, right? And they're just going down that river. So without a practice, you are in the river of your thoughts. We definitely would say something like, I am so angry, or I am so frustrated. And that's being in the river. See how that's believing the thought that you're having, right? So that's believing the thoughts. And what we want to train you to do is to get out of that crazy river and to go on the edge of the riverbank. So imagine this riverbank is beautiful. It's a sunny day. There's plenty of grass there under your butt. And you're just sitting there and it's like 70 degrees. And we can even take a few breaths right now together. So you're just sitting there together on the riverbank and you're just noticing your breath, hanging out. And then all of a sudden you get pulled in the river. And what that is you got hooked by a thought. And now you're in the river again, you're believing it, you're suffering accordingly. And then your job is just to get out of the river and to sit on the riverbank again. And you just observe and let it go by. So that's just an analogy for you for mindfulness practice. And then the next one is a crowded marketplace that I'd love to share. So this is a classic Buddhist analogy or metaphor. I'm not sure which, but imagine there's this crowded marketplace, and it's like it's some cool place, and they're trading spices, and it's like Morocco. There's thousands of people in this market, and your job is to find the thief. There's a pickpocket in there, right? And he's going around and pickpocketing, and your job is to catch the thief, right? So if you are in the market with thousands of people, um, do you think you'd have a good chance of catching the thief? Could anyone give me a no or a yes? Yeah, no way, right? But you're so smart that you see this big tower on the edge of the marketplace. You climb up there and then you look down and you have perspective. Don't you think you'd have a better chance of seeing the thief then? So this analogy is all about um, that's just like your thoughts that are going around in the marketplace, right? And if you back up, that's called taking the seat of the witness, is the fancy term for it in Buddhism and meditation practice. You're backing up from your thoughts and feelings. You're getting some space. And with that space of being able to observe the thoughts and feelings, you have a way better chance of letting them float on down the river. So, yeah. And then the last one I'll give you here for this one is called water off a duck's back. I'll have to change the slide and get a duck coming out of the water. But if you ever seen a duck come out of the water, I used to, our family cottage was up in Maine on a beautiful little pond called Brandy Pond. And whenever the ducks come up, all the water just goes right off of their feathers. It's so amazing, right? And that's where we're heading with your mind. That's what we want your mind to be like. So if you practice regularly and you're able to continue to let those thoughts and feelings float on by and to just allow experience to be what it is in your practice and in regular life, people could say almost anything to you. All kinds of external stuff that used to frustrate you could happen, but with a practice, it'll just roll right off you like water off a duck's back. Yeah. So there you go. So any questions about that first slide, or I'd love any feedback that you guys have of tricks that you have to take life a little less seriously, to not get so hooked by thoughts and feelings, ways that you may have worked on trying to set yourself free. So you can unmute and I'd love to hear from you. All right. Well, at Naropa, they told me to count to 7 to see if anyone engages. Cool. Well, if not, we'll just keep flying. Oh, Asiana, any additions to this slide that you would throw in there that from your experience?
Something, and I'll share more at the pop-up about this, but something that I appreciate working with while I'm in meditation and I'll notice thoughts arise is actually like toning with the thought, like placing a little hum in there, because then all of a sudden you can start to feel the vibration of the thought and the hum sound kind of merge. So then it doesn't feel like I'm resisting the thought, but I'm just kind of toning it through the body, and it brings me into a bit more singularity. It's like vagal toning too. It calms the nervous system. Just a fun little exploration.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Right, right. Because sometimes when yeah, there's almost can be a little resistance to the thoughts or pushing away, which isn't what we want to be doing. And that way I can see that's beautiful, right? So you'd have a thought come up and it's starting to pull you away, and mix that sound with the thought. And then it pulls it all back into presence, kind of.
Yeah, just
Mm,
deliberately with vibration, right? Cool.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, cool. And it's not on the slide here, but I just occurred I should share one more little metaphor. Real simple. Your mind is like this limitless, open blue sky, and your thoughts are just clouds moving through. So a lot of times it can feel like thunderstorms, right? That are smashing on you, but really it's just these clouds, and you just allow them to move through the sky. And another thing to think about too is sometimes life can feel overwhelming, but if you ever go up in a plane above the clouds, it's always crystal clear up there. So that's your true nature. I guess that's something I would love you guys to take away is that when we stop believing our thoughts as much and we learn to let them go and we spend more time in presence, things start to open up to the truth of who you really are, and that's expansive and more peaceful. It's good stuff. Yeah. Cool. So the second one here, the out of three, so we're almost halfway there already. Um, so number two here is accept the often dissatisfactory nature of life to live in peace. So this is a main Buddhist teaching from the first noble truth, it's called. So there's four noble truths, and this one sometimes doesn't fly very well in the West, because a lot of spirituality is perceived in the West as, let's talk about the peaceful part of it all the time. Let's like focus on feeling good together, and that's wonderful. But the Buddha was like a doctor, they say, and it was like you have to kind of acknowledge when something isn't working before you can fix it, right? So if you went to the doctors and said, "Oh, I'm having these symptoms," and he says, "Oh, you're fine, just breathe, it's all good," that wouldn't work, right? Like we have to diagnose what's going on. So the first thing, the one of the first things the Buddha taught was like the saying is life is suffering in English, and that sounds a little harsh, but we have to come to terms with that, because then we can actually take the path to find some peace. So one of the ways that we suffer or struggle, when we don't have a practice and we're not trained, is with dukkha, and actually it continues with a practice, of course. But dukkha is a word that's, you could say, is dissatisfaction in English. So I'll give you an analogy. So imagine you're just driving your car down the road and everything's great, and you got the radio on, the windows are open a little, and you're just feeling good and peaceful. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, those windows are a little loud, so I'm going to close my windows. And then you have this feeling of dissatisfaction. Oh, it's a little stuffy in here, so, oh, I'm going to turn the AC on a little bit. And then it's like, okay, now I'm feeling a little bored, a little dissatisfaction with my ride. I think I'll turn the radio on. And then it's like, oh, great song, but then they play a ton of commercials, right? You see how that's dissatisfaction. That's like the dukkha. There's like this sense underlying that we're kind of always looking for something to feel a little bit better, like something's a little off. And another way to look at the first noble truth, that there is suffering that we need to acknowledge, is just think about the truth that we fall in love with people who are going to pass away, or we are of the nature to get sick sometimes, right? Like, or you love skiing and you're having a blast and then you hurt your knee. It's like inevitable that life's going to throw curveballs at you. So that's just the nature of where we've been born into. So and it all comes from a story of the Buddha. So the Buddha was in the it's like a prince, and it's 2,600 years ago, and his dad wanted to keep him in the kingdom so that he could take over, the kingdom. And but a truth sayer, forecasted that he was either gonna be a great king or a great spiritual being, and his father wanted to guide him to the material world, right? So he gave him the best of everything. He kept him in the kingdom, and there'd be beautiful food and drinks and stuff to do, and as he got older, women to date, and he just kept it really beautiful. Everyone was young, and everything was really nice and perfect in there. But the Buddha had this feeling that something wasn't quite right. So he asked one of his attendants to sneak him out. So the story goes that he got snuck out on this the royal chariot, or something like that. And he got to look down the side streets, and for the first time he saw a sick person. And he said to his attendant, like, "What is that?" And he says, "Oh, that's normal. That's a sick person." And he saw an old person. He saw a birth, which is painful to come into this world, actually, right? When the first thing you do is cry, right? So birth, old age, sickness, and death, that's all the things that he saw, like the reality of the world. And he was like, "Oh, okay." Like, I'm gonna have to deal with this, like, and that's, so we're all in the same boat. So that's the first step. But now the good part starts. So if we can just come to terms with all that life has curveballs in it. The other way that we suffer, though, first, though, is what we're really doing is what we're going to talk about is taking refuge in something that's going to wake you up and bring you to peace. But what worldly people do when they don't have a practice, is they take refuge in worldly things. And that's what I explained earlier about my own path. And I'm sure you can all relate, is we've been trained to just always try to get the next thing to feel better. We've been kind of taught that we're not okay and we have to earn okayness, say. So therefore, every morning, the Dalai Lama says, we all want the same thing. We all want to be happy and not to suffer. So every morning we wake up And without any practice or training, we just go into the world and try to get stuff, people, places, things to like go our way so that we can find lasting happiness. But we all know it doesn't work because taking refuge in worldly things, they're only temporary. Say you wanted an ice cream cone because you think, oh, it's going to make me feel so happy. Yeah, have three, have five. And how's that working for you, right? So the point is this: taking refuge in the worldly stuff, people, places, and things can't give you the lasting peace that you deserve and that you really are. So then the Buddha turns the tables, and this is the main thing I wanted to share tonight is take refuge. So we're going to go for protection moving forward if it lands for you in what's called Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So Buddha, and this doesn't mean you have to become a Buddhist or religious, not at all. Buddha isn't about the guy from 2,600 years ago, really. It's more about your own nature inside. So we go for protection to who we really are. We're limitless and peaceful and just are just perfect inside, right? So you take refuge for your Buddha nature. And then the second one, you take refuge in Sangha. So I'm sorry, Buddha Dharma, you take refuge in Dharma. And Dharma is any teaching that brings you back to the truth of who you really are. Any Dharma teaching will bring you towards peace versus suffering. So, an example of suffering teachings might be watching CNN at night, right? And they're telling you that's what's going on in the world. But that's just one small view of what's going on. There's so much other beautiful stuff going on in the world, right? So if that makes you suffer, that's not a good path for you, right? So we take refuge in Dharma, like anything you read or hear, or even a podcast in these modern times, just anything that brings you back to your truth and to peace is good stuff. And then finally, we go refuge to Sangha. And that means to go for protection to a community of people like everyone on this call tonight that's working together to go within and realize truth and let go of all the confused ways of being. So by taking refuge in Sangha is how we live in peace and we start to be able to deal with the changing nature of this life. Yeah. So, any questions about that or a share about how you've noticed that you might have a little dukkha or suffering in your life or and how you've dealt with it? All right. Asiana, anything to add to that one from like the yogic lens or?
Oh, I really love how you articulated all of that, Eric. It's so beautiful. Yeah, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Um, I tend to sort of weave my awareness into the non-dual world in the land of polarity. And I feel like in my own articulation of like, suffering and joy, it's a spectrum. And so in that, we allow the full spectrum of ourselves to be experienced. And I think that that's the thing we're talking about is how we can continue to expand our capacity to be in the seemingly polarized existence that we're in this space of presence, non-dual awareness. It's all included. So I'll just add that.
I love it. I'm so glad you said that. So there's a teacher that comes to Awake Festival, Dr. Cody Goldman, and the way he looks at it and taught me to look at it, and I love it, is like it's all vibration. He actually had a near-death experience and got this guidance from some really good sources, I guess. So it's kind of really high, good information that's fed through him, and I love what he said. It's like this whole existence is based on vibration on a deeper level. And what people call enlightenment may just be being comfortable, getting comfortable with a broad range of vibrations. So some of us are only comfortable with the vibration of like that makes us feel good and happy, say. But it's like, say you go to a funeral and you have that like somber sadness, but it's not necessarily bad or good. It's just a feeling. It's just a vibration. So I love that and that way of looking at it. Like the more comfortable you can get with all the different range of vibration and feeling is very nice.
Mm,
So
mm.
yeah. And oh, the other teaching he shared I love from is that one big thing we want to do is stop judging our experiences good or bad because it's not true. It just is.
It's a big one. Bad, right, wrong, nada. The
Yeah,
chime
yeah.
on the chat. If you wanted to take a peek at that.
Oh, there's something in the chat.
Said I think dukkha is in every day. However, gratitude helps me to balance that dissatisfaction. Yeah, gratitude, gratitude. It's a powerful vibration, gratitude. Mhm.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks. Please feel free to read those. I can't see them on my screen sometimes because of the thing. Awesome. Cool. Well, we'll go to the next one unless there's anyone else that wants to share anything. Yeah, and I'm just going to take a breath and see if there's anything else that comes for this one. Accepting the often dissatisfactory nature of life to live in peace. Man, I guess that's a great. I love what you said, Asiana. Right? It just is. There's lots of feelings and thoughts that happen, and it's just like learning to just be okay with everything. Peacefulness. Awesome. Cool. And we're getting there. We're already on slide number 3 here. Um, so learning to break free from our unconscious patterns and live from presence. So this is important, right? We want to break free from all of our patterns and live from presence. So this is what I was saying a little bit earlier is if you haven't read the book, The Four Agreements yet, highly recommend The Four Agreements. If you go to the awakeexperience.com website and go to resources, there's so many good books there and resources, but The Four Agreements is the best. And why I say that is because we've been conditioned when we were little to make agreements that we don't even agree with anymore. And one of them was maybe I have to be an all A student to be worthy, or one of them could be that you have to buy a lot of presents at Christmas, say, even if you don't have the money, right? So in this life, we've all made agreements because when we were younger, especially the big people in our life, were like gods to us. Whatever they said, we just took it on. And then we take on other cultural agreements as well, and look at our consumer culture and where it leads people, right? So a big thing, way to look at this is at some point you have to realize which agreements aren't working for you anymore that you just swallowed earlier in life without knowing it. And then you actually create your own agreements that are in alignment with your inner truth. And that's just a huge step on the path I wanted to share tonight. So that's one way to break some unconscious patterns and then start to live from presence. So to get into the 3 little bullet points down here, we want to make a friend of our mind. Right now, without a practice, it can be an enemy. It can say things to you that aren't true, and if you believe it, it causes you to suffer. Like, oh, I don't deserve this job, say this new job, but really, you could help a lot of people if you took the job, maybe, you know. So our mind is not our friend sometimes without a practice because we believe what it says and it's not helpful. It's not supportive. So we want to make more of a friend of our mind. So first we got to think about where thoughts come from. I mentioned that earlier. They just kind of pop up in your mind. It's not even like you try to think of certain things. They just kind of come up. So if we're going to have any chance of not following those old conditioned thoughts, and if we want to try to create new thoughts that are more supportive, we're going to have to slow down. And that's why I invited Asiana on the call tonight because she's such a good teacher. Every time I practice with her, she'll have you move like you're moving through water. I think I've heard you say, like this culture moves so fast. Our minds move so fast that the antidote is to slow everything down. And I think I have a great story about that. So Thich Nhat Hanh is a Buddhist teacher. Has anyone ever heard of Thich Nhat Hanh? Yeah. So he passed recently, but his teachings are so with us more than ever, I feel like. So I was just starting out on the path, and I was really like taking my American approach to meditation and like thinking, I'm going to get this done in this lifetime, and I'm going to really meditate and work hard on the path, ironically. And I went to see Thich Nhat Hanh speak, and there was thousands of people in this big arena. And I expected he's going to give us some really deep, intense, Dharma teaching and tell us to whip ourselves into shape with practice. And what he did blew my mind, and it was perfect. All of a sudden, he just said, "All right, everyone, lie down on the floor And if you brought a blanket, put it on. And then he had his main, one of the main teachers in his Sangha, Sister Chan Kong, this beautiful nun, she just sang a lullaby to us. So imagine that picture of thousands of American adults lying on the floor of this place and taking a nap. And and he's an enlightened master, and it was like of all the things he could have taught us, he taught us to slow down. So that I just will never forget that. And so if we're gonna have any hope of changing our mind and letting it be our friend and our ally instead of an enemy, um, we're gonna have to slow down. So we slow down the breath. Like right now, let's take 3 breaths together. And just breathing down into the belly. And this last one we can do in through the nose, little hold at the top. Little sigh on the exhale. So even that, just like 3 breaths right in the middle of a busy day can really kind of slow the whole system down. And there's another part, since I have a few minutes, there's this principle called interdependence. And how it works is there's 3 parts of our experience that are really interdependent. So body, speech, and no, I'm sorry. The body, the breath, and the mind are all intertwined and interdependent. So you can calm your nervous system by slowing the breath, say. You could take longer gaps between each breath and let the mind rest a little between each breath. You could even count your breath to make it longer, smoother, cooler. So that's just one way. So imagine if you calm your breath down a little bit, allow it to calm on its own. It's where it wants to go. That actually helps the mind to settle and slow down. And then it also affects the body too. So then the muscles can relax and kind of just hang out and melt down your face and all your body. But you can come at it the other way too. So say you were really stressed at work, you could just squeeze your shoulders up on an inhale and then just let them relax down. So imagine just doing that 3 times, right? Or you could do it right now. So you're getting a little tense and then letting it drop. You can even go up on your heels and go up on your toes and then drop your heels down a few times if you're feeling anxious. So you can calm the body formation is the technical term for it, and then the mind settles and the breath lengthens and relaxes. And it goes all 3 ways. So just wanted to share a little actual useful tool that you can take action on. Because if we can slow our thoughts down a little bit, there can be a little gap between them sometimes. You have a way better chance of letting that float on by and not getting hooked. And then you can even choose to think a different thought. If you had a destructive thought, you could breathe, let it go, do the practice, and then think of supportive thought. And what I tell my clients all the time is the inner voice, it would be great if that could be your, like a loving coach, like a caring, loving coach, instead of like a critic. Some people talk to themselves like they wouldn't even talk to their friend. No way, so we gotta slow the mind down so we can be kind to ourselves. Yeah. So that was actually the last point there is right. We have a choice. We can implant new thoughts or we can just let them go completely. Yeah. And if we can learn to, yeah, so something else I wanted to fit in here is every day at work, when I'm being a therapist, everyone, all these different people come and sit on my couch, right? And I see the same Buddha nature in everyone. Like I definitely know that we all have Buddha nature. That's just a principle that I've been trained in Buddhism and I just believe now that underneath all the confusion, we're all good inside, right? So, what I notice in all my different clients is some seem to have just a few layers of confusion blocking that truth. And then others have all these stories and all this trauma and really tough stuff. And it's like this layers of confusion that block them from being with their truth. So that's why meditation practice is so important because over time, you can go through those layers of confusion and just return to your innate goodness, your inner wisdom. And something else I like to share is that sometimes it feels like life's happening to us without a practice. It's like, oh, this different person got into office and now that affected my taxes, so I'm angry or it's like we're a victim almost, right? But when you can get through that confusion and come back to your inner wisdom, your inner truth, it seems to me is then you have this blank canvas and you just paint this beautiful life from what they call your dharma, your truth, instead of living out all the cultural programming that we have or our self-doubt or all that stuff. And that's really what I want for you guys the most is to let go of all the confusion and come home to your truth, and then to let the Christians would say there's a small still voice within, and all it is we just can't hear it. It's always there, and I have a good story about that. I think is there's a book called Conversations with God, and this person was suffering deeply in their life, and they couldn't figure it out doing the worldly ways of trying to feel better, and they finally surrendered, and they just gave up, which is actually a beautiful thing to do. It's there's another book to read, When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron. So it's like just when you think it's the worst point in your life, sometimes that's the opening for your spiritual practice to really start in earnest. Um, yeah, so he finally surrendered and said, "Just help me." And maybe he said God or whatever. He just said, "Please, I give up. I can't do it. I'm ready to end my life." Actually, was the story, and sure as heck, I shouldn't say that. God spoke to him, and he just started writing in his notebook, and he channeled this whole incredible book called Conversations with God, and that's cool. But the interesting part of the story to me is he got famous, and I think got back into his ego, got into his monkey mind again, right up here. And the publishers were like, "Come on, write the second book." And he's like, "I can't. God stopped talking to me." And what actually happened is it's that no, God never stopped talking to him. He just couldn't hear anymore because he got back into all the confusion of our culture that says more, more, better, better, fame and gain and chasing all these things, So when he finally surrendered again, the second book was written. So I just thought that's a very cool story to show how confusion can really mess with us uh, from hearing our own truth. Yeah. Cool. So I'll try once more for this one. Any questions about that one, or any contributions from the group about your unconscious patterns and how you've learned maybe to come home to some truth, or maybe if there's comments, Asiana, that you can see that I can't. Mhm.
I'd just like to add a little bit to that, Eric, just kind of
Please.
what you just shared. There's something about um, even tending to our relationship with confusion, because confusion will happen. And again, how can we be in relationship with confusion and sort of dissolve the resistance to it? Because there's something even in the like, this happens. This is part of the experience. This too, I'm feeling. And it's so like nuanced at times because we don't want to feel confusion. It feels chaotic. And we'll get caught up in the not wanting to, which then perpetuates the not wanting to. So how do we include that as well?
Mhm.
And I say this because I feel so devoted to like kind of sifting into the deeper practices of slowing down, because I feel like that's where we start to unhook from like the little eddies. Oh, that does exist. I can feel into it even more. Oh, there's even a deeper sensation there available. Um, and so I just want to, yeah, just kind of underscore that the the sadhana practice is so potent. A daily practice is just so potent in supporting our relationship with this body, mind, spirit template. That's it. So helpful relationship, inner.
I love it. If I'm hearing it right, I think I'm hearing Asiana's beautiful non-dual teachings is how I would hear that. And if that resonates for you, it definitely does for me. There's also a teacher named Michael Singer that has a couple amazing books, and he has a free podcast through Sounds True, and it's also on the resources page at awakeexperience.com. It's off the charts. And I would say also Jeremy Wolf is part of the Awake community sometimes, and he's definitely I would say a non-dual teacher. But then in my own path in Buddhism, they have three different levels of teachings, and the highest one, you have to have all of them though. You have to have all the foundations. The highest one's Vajrayana Buddhism, and it's about emptiness and how everything is workable, and you stop kind of cutting it up into chunks like maybe you do. Yeah, many different views. It's very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder too if it all aims to the same thing, like the emptiness that exists inside the slowing down from the speeding up.
Hmm. Good stuff. I'm so glad you're here. This is great, Asiana. Thank you. Cool. So I have a quick story for you. So this is my human doing versus human being story. There's my gravestone someday. So I hope it doesn't say that on my gravestone. Up till now, like I mentioned earlier, I've been pretty into consuming and getting a lot of stuff done, and I've realized that comes from just a place of wanting to feel better about myself. Like, oh, if I'm a hard worker and people respect me because of that, then I'll feel good inside. And I think at the Awake Festival, one of our main T-shirts I put out there is "We are human beings, not human doings." They say you teach what you most want to embody, what I most need to learn. So I just wanted to say that I can relate to anyone that's on the call that sometimes feels a little overly busy in this culture and caught up. And my promise to you as sharing the Dharma with you guys, and what I'd love to see us all do together is to shift the focus from being like a machine, like our culture taught us to be, like a machine and just push, push, push until you're burnt out, to learn how to be more present and just take it easy a little bit more. And maybe instead of your week looking like work really hard and then need to sleep a bunch to feel better, so like recovery mode, maybe it's more balanced throughout our lives where we can carry a sense of being and more calm and grounded. And then from that place, we still manifest a gorgeous life. And when we help the planet, we help each other, and we build beautiful communities and families from more of a place of being. So just wanted to share that. Cool. Well, thanks, you guys. You guys have been great so far. So I have three awesome things to share with you guys. Um, we have an Awake deep dive. So Awake is a bunch of different stuff. So Awake Mindful Living is like the umbrella company that I started. And then under that is Awake Mindful Therapy. So I'm a therapist and I do work with some people on this call for individual therapy and couples. And it's all mindfulness based, like what we talked about tonight. And it's all about how you're all set inside. We just got to clear away some confusion. So that's the therapy piece. And then the one of the other big parts of Awake is that we have a monthly meditation retreat, mindfulness based retreat. And the next one is Sunday, May 7th. We have a beautiful cabin in Evergreen, and there's a stream outside. There's a beautiful grassy area. We put the Buddhas outside, out in the field. It's so nice, and we hang out in the shade a lot during when if the weather's nice. And so this next one is with me and Lauren Adamo, who works with Awake, and we're going to share with you yoga, meditation, walking mindfulness, community connection time. And the best part is we have a new chef, and she cooks Ayurvedically from the Indian lineage. So the food is going to be awesome because in retreat we maintain silence throughout most of the day. And when you're so present and in your body, the food just tastes so good. So it's such a treat to just eat and let your mind settle and enjoy your meal together. So it's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And yeah, it's on our website, of course. And you'll get a follow-up email tomorrow with all this. And then we get to be with Asiana. So the other cool thing that Awake does is called Awake Pop-Ups. And this I started Friday Night Yoga Club many years ago before I went back to grad school and became a therapist. And the whole point of Friday Night Yoga Club was to create a space where we could all go and not have to get into intoxicants and stuff, and like an alternate to the party scene as people become more conscious. And it would be packed every night, every Friday, and we would just go to a different yoga studio and practice. And I recently brought it back, and now it's a little more broad than yoga. Like last one, we had a drum circle. What else have we had? Oh, we had a sex therapist come in for our couples for the first one. Um, oh, we had Damon the Zen drummer do a beautiful musical performance. And each of these conscious events is on a weekend on purpose because it gives us something to do that's other than the bar scene or whatever. And nothing wrong with that either, but it's kind of nice not to be hungover the next day and to be with like-minded community. So Asiana teaches the next Awake Pop-Up. So after Friday Nail Club, it evolved into the Awake Pop-Ups. And now we have more freedom with dates. So Asiana, did you want to share anything about what will happen at Ahimsa Yoga on the 20th?
It's a mystery. No,
Ooh.
kind of a mystery. It's really it depends on who's going to be there. I love feeling into the emergent field and doing my best to be present and just let that inform. And I'm calling it the vibration of sensation. So there'll be invitation to work with our own tones and working with our own sound and piercing it through the fabric of our own embodiment and allowing kind of our, like, it's about strengthening our sense perception and then just sensing like where energy might be a little bit blocked up, where there might be some holding patterns. And it really starts to support us opening up more choice points in the system, not only in our physical body, but through neuroplasticity as well. It can be deeply relaxing, so nourishing. I'll weave in, some asana, some gentle asana practice. I imagine there might be a little nidra that comes in, some guided relaxation. And I really just hope to be with you all so we can all feel into our own vibrations together.
Wonderful, thank you. And it's at the coolest little yoga studio right on 6th Ave. It's Ahimsa Yoga, and it's owned by a lovely woman who cultivated this space. And we only can fit maybe 20 people. It's super beautiful and intimate. So sign up soon if you want to come on the 20th. Yeah.
Question on the chat too. So that one's May 20th. I do teach classes weekly. I teach at Samadhi Yoga Center and Karma Yoga Center, where we work with a lot of toning in these classes as well. So maybe I can put those links in the chat for you. Thanks, Chelsea. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, thanks, Asiana. Great question, Chelsea. Thank you. Yeah, it's so nice to practice with Asiana more than just once in a while. That's for sure. Oh yeah, and why it goes till 9:30 is after the class, we leave time so we can all connect and hang out. The last one was at Samadhi Yoga after the drum circle. We bring some snacks and nice tea, and it's just such a nice time because you go to a regular yoga class and it's great, but you kind of all take off afterwards. So we purposely included like a half an hour so we could all hang out afterwards and get to know each other and build some sangha, some community. And we put some music on. It's really nice. So love to see you there. Awakeexperience.com pop-up. Go to the pop-up page. And then the Awake Festival, that's the big party. That's the big conscious party that I started 2 years ago. And now we're going into our third year. So we have a beautiful spot here in Evergreen. Most of it, the festival is outdoors. We have over 50 wellness workshops and talks throughout the weekend. And then we have a gorgeous food vendor, of course, wonderful food. And then there's 30 vendors all around the edge of the festival ground so that you can go get a tarot reading, meet a coach or a counselor. You can get energy work done. You can get massage. It's such an awesome weekend. And then some of the highlights of the Awake Festival are on Friday night, we have a conscious dance from Rhythm Sanctuary, a static dance, and Asiana guides us into our bodies for that one. And Jeremy Wolf, Solar Moon, and who goes by Solar Moon, and Sundragon DJ that. It was incredible last year. Just kind of let loose after a day of yoga and dance. And then there's a big kirtan on Saturday, which is call and response, chanting. And we have a fireside jam on Saturday night. We have 3 fires going outside. And then we have all the Awake Festival musicians. There's tons of music too. And it's just all high vibe, good stuff. And this is an incredible deal right now. I think the early bird's only 154 for a whole weekend festival. It's crazy. So hop on the website, yeah, Wake Experience, and sign up. I'd love to see you. And then I don't know if I have anything else. Oh yeah. So here's a free thing that I just built. So I love to give stuff away and to share everything I can. Um, with you guys. So I have a brand new thing I put together. It's 7 Steps to Awakening, and it's a beautiful document you can download for free. And then there's 7 little videos. They're only like 3 minutes each, but they just give you a little some ideas and support for the for your path. So let me see if I can put that in the chat. I think I still have it. Yeah, I do have it saved. Okay, so that's the link if you want to download this cool little um, 7 Steps to Awakening. And then while I'm at it, I might as well put in the deep dive link. All this stuff's in the way here. Awake Experience. You know what I'll do? I'm just going to send you the home page, and you can click on what you want. Um, there's all kinds of stuff here that you can check out. Back to Zoom. Yeah, so at this main link, if you want to just grab it and save it off, you can find everything. The festival, the pop-up, and the deep dive. See if I can share my screen again. All right, I'm almost there. All right, well, here's the website, actually. I'm sharing the wrong thing. But anyways, that was the end of what I had to. Oh, I do have a closing quote, though, I wanted to read to you guys. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, yeah, maybe you guys can see it here. Here it is. All right, can you see it again? Awesome. Cool. So you can download that in the chat. And then thank you for showing up tonight, you guys. I thought I had another quote, but I don't. But what we do in the Buddhist tradition, and I'm sure in the yoga tradition, is at the end of every practice, or when we might learn something or practice something, um, we dedicate the merit, it's called. So thank you guys for showing up. I know you could have done so many different things tonight. So happy you're here with us, and you shared your heart with us tonight, and appreciate the hard work that you're putting into your practice, because it's the only thing that's really going to make this world a better place is people who come home to their truth. Because what your truth is just loving kindness, compassion, joy, peace, equanimity. And if we come home to that place and live from that place, then the world's going to become a better place. So we just dedicate the merit here, it's called, and I'll say it for us. And this just means that we don't keep it for ourselves; we share it for ourselves and all beings. And by this merit, may all obtain omniscience, may it defeat the enemy of wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may we free all beings. And we can also say namaste or Native American aho, and so it is. So I really love and appreciate all you guys who took the time to tune in tonight. And we'll follow up with an email tomorrow. And everyone have a lovely evening. And if there's anything anyone wants to say as a parting message, put it in the chat, or you can unmute and say good night. Thanks,
Mm,
everyone.
yeah, thank you, everybody. So wonderful to get to be with you. Yeah, truly honored. Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Asiana and Erik, relaxing and learning a great way to wind down the day.
Beautiful.
Totally. Yeah. Awesome, guys. See you soon, I hope.
All right.